Who's this Santa? He's scaring my kid.
Yeah, he's scaring me too.
Happy almost Halloween. Today we're talking about the newest entry in the very successful Terrifier franchise, Terrifier 3. Directed by series creator Damien Leone and starring Lauren Lavera, Samantha Scafidi, Elliot Fulham, and of course David Howard Thornton, Terrifier 3 picks up 5 years after the previous entry as Sienna and her brother Jonathan recover from Art the Clown's Halloween massacre. With Christmas right around the corner, both try to enjoy the holidays before Art shows up to spoil the joy and good cheer. I'll go ahead and drop a spoiler warning here, so if you have not seen Terrifier 3, pause this video, go watch it, and maybe watch the first two as well. Come back and let me tell you how to feel about it. So here's my relationship with Terrifier. I enjoyed the first one well enough with its mean-spirited take on the slasher genre and over-the-top gore. Terrifier 2 I liked a little less, but did enjoy the introduction of final girl Sienna Shaw, played by the always terrific Lauren Lavera, who I'll talk a little bit about later. Terrifier, I've noticed, tends to have a certain vibe in the horror community. It's big at cons, has some indie cred, and is of course gross, schlocky, and gory. It has a very Jokerized appeal that was easy for me to turn my nose up at. But all the buzz got my FOMO engine purring, so I bought a ticket last night and sat my ass down to watch it. First, I want to talk about the audience. My showing wasn't particularly packed, but the characters that did show up ended up checkering my experience a little bit. I watched the first two movies at home, at my own pace, and if you've seen them, you know that they can be intense experiences, but I never watched these with people. The pair of men in trip pants in front of me proceeded to talk through the entire movie. At first I was like, this is Terrifier 3, dude, like this is just part of the experience, but come on, people. What really got to me and almost nearly ruined the experience entirely was the way these jabronis were amping up and edging on Art the Clown anytime he was hitting and attacking women. The sentiments I heard a lot were, yeah, get that or hit that. And I don't know, it just made me feel sick. It made me really want to hate this movie. Audience aside, I woke up the next morning feeling excited to share my thoughts about Terrifier 3, with the predominant feeling being I didn't end up hating it. In fact, I enjoyed many parts of it. The gore and special effects really popped and glowed on screen, and given that they had a bigger budget, they used those funds where it mattered. The script felt tighter, the characters a bit more lived in and fleshed out, and of course, the kills were more creative and menacing. Terrifier 2, you felt that runtime, but T3's 2 hours kind of flew by. Lauren Lavera's performance as Sienna Shaw was my favorite part of the movie. She is eminently likable, easy to root for, and carries the trauma impacted upon her and her family by Art the Clown in a very empathic way. These movies aren't particularly known for their character building or storylines, and with Terrifier 3 that's still mostly the case. But Lauren made the movie for me, and all of its best parts involved her. I was reminded a lot watching Terrifier 3 of movies and directors I enjoy a lot, such as Rob Zombie and The Exorcist 3. One such image involves Sienna in a dream sequence watching this demon craft her heavenly weapon as he is held hostage by this eerie nun figure statue thing. This was immediately startling and more noticeably creative, and not the kind of imagery I was used to the franchise invoking. That was really cool to see, and while the heaven, hell, demon, angel crap is really tired, I didn't mind it. If something looks cool and is well shot, I'll dig it, and they did a good job with moments like this. There's not just gore now, we have a little bit of lore. In general, the movie looked good and was well shot, if a little bit too glowy and hallmarky in its color palette. That said, the Christmas colors pop on screen, and placing Art the Clown in that wholesome setting just needed to happen for this franchise. What'll they do next? Easter? Damien, I want a writing credit if you take that idea. I don't like Art the Clown. I don't think you're supposed to like him. I think he looks like the type of person who smells like piss and is just waiting to frighten you anywhere, anytime. I don't find him cute or funny, but I can see why other people do. That aspect of the movie bothered me. It's okay to laugh at spectacle on screen, but it's important to know why we're laughing at it. If gore can transcend, which they managed to do a couple of times in the movie, it can have a real appeal. But too often here, Terrifier 3 feels like Deadpool, and I don't like that. There's a particular audience for that here, and I just don't jive with it. There's an element to the way this movie will be enjoyed by that audience that viscerally bothered me after the credits rolled. You cannot say David Howard Thornton isn't to blame for that mean-spirited menace. He embodies the role of Art the Clown, adding an infectious physicality, and is why this character has become instantly iconic. He's not my slasher, but he will be the next generation's, for better or for worse. Now, what to say about the value of these movies? Let's get this out of the way first. It's possible that these movies are just not for me. I can appreciate aspects of them as a horror fan, but in general, I don't know that they have any significant value to me. When the movie decides to lean into Sienna and build on her character, as well as other tension-building moments, such as the relatively masterful Mall Santa terrorism scene, that's where things get interesting. But my issue is that carnage for the sake of it has no meaning in a narrative structure. I get it. These are splatterfest, gorefest schlock for a very particular sect of the horror community, and I'm not knocking them for enjoying it. But for me, this movie feels a little bit too self-aware of its vileness. I felt emotionally drained after watching this movie, and not in the best way. Hereditary left me shaken in a similar way, but with that there was an elegance and meaning to the horror on display. Familial strife, mental illness, and willful ignorance to reality. For Art the Clown, this is a demonic entity shackled to Sienna Shaw whose sole purpose is to torture her. Sure, there's fight and there's payoff, but it's mean-spirited to the max. Force-feeding rats down a woman's throat is visually frightening, but what's the payoff? Do we need one? Why do I care so much? Restraint. Horror is all about restraint. And at the end of the day, Terrifier 3 doesn't have much of that. That's why people like it, and that's why its value is somewhat lost on me. In the moments where it does show that elegance and restraint, it shines. But in the final dreamlike rat-fucking-sane third act, it leans too much in what I like least about it. It's bleak, it's mean, and it's evil. What is the purpose of that evil other than to terrify? And that may just be the point. The fact of the matter is that the horror community will continue to grapple with the impact of Art the Clown for years to come. Damien Leone has his cash cow and is an exciting indie filmmaker on the rise. If anything, this movie has given me a lot to think about and grapple with being a horror fan in 2024. For me, Michael Myers will always be my favorite slasher, and it seems difficult to compare him to a character like Art the Clown. Even their creative teams were setting out to make something completely different. Is this really the slasher that this generation wants, or is it the slasher that they deserve? What did you think of Terrifier 3? Is it your favorite of the franchise? And if not, which one is? Are there any movies that you love that are just bad vibes? Leave all the comments below, and before you go, don't forget to like and smash that subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching this video and continuing to support the channel. Remember, these are just my first impressions of Terrifier 3, and as more movies come out in this franchise, my opinions could very well change with them. Only time will tell. Yeah, I think that's it. I'm just gonna go adopt all the rats that I can, watch Halloween 6, and get cozy. And maybe take a few Xanax and fall asleep forever. Peace.
Hey, Santa's handing out presents!
Sienna and her brother Jonathan, what the fuck?